You can all hear me? Could you all just say, doesn't she look thinner in real life? A story about Gladys Cooper, the actress's sister, less famous sister, who was also an actress. She gave up the business because she couldn't bear the fact that people hissed when she went on stage. It was only later that she found out that they were saying, that's Gladys Cooper's sister. I'll take 2 minutes out of my 15 to say what a fantastic gig this is tonight. Congratulations to everybody. I'm just rather wondering what you'd all have been doing if you hadn't been here. Just sitting there going through 200 channels with absolutely nothing remotely as interesting as you're seeing tonight. Nothing that television can do that radio can do too. Anyway, it's a chutzpah for me to be here following these people who followed great lives. If any of you don't know what a chutzpah is, the definition is a small boy peeing through somebody's letterbox, then knocking on the door to see how far it went. I'm just a jabbing actress, 80% unemployed in our business, you know. A Jewish actor who rang up his mother and said, Mama, I'm so excited. I got the part. I'm playing the husband. She said, you couldn't get a speaking part. I think the playwright, the American playwright Bernard Slade summed it all up. He said, when he was a child, he said to his father, he said, Dad, when I'm a grown-up, I want to be an actor. And his father said, no, son, you can't be both. He said. It's a story of all jokes. Yeah, my specialty, if I'm going to lecture on anything, it's going to be jokes, because I love jokes. Jokes are small plays, and there are no plays on television anymore. Everything has to have a hook, you'll realize. You have to be hooked on the Monday to watch on the Wednesday to watch on the Friday. Now, in the old days, you used to have a beginning and a middle and an end in the same day. And wasn't that wonderful? We had what was called a golden age of television. Now, it may not look so in the future when our children are grown up, but that's very much how it seemed to me. And I was one of those children. You know, we've talked about France tonight, we've talked about Hollywood, we've been to Italy, we've traveled a lot. I'm from Hull. Twinned, as you all know, with Sierra Leone, and why would that surprise you? It's so obvious. And in fact, once, years ago, when I was in Manchester doing a play, and I had to make a speech in Salford, so I called up the Manchester Town Hall, and I said, could you tell me, please, where Salford is twinned with? And she said, I'm sorry, love, is at lunch. It's quite intriguing. I said, who's at lunch? She said, town twinning officer is at lunch. And I realized there was a job there, you know. There was like some guy who comes in every day and puts his feet on the table and spins a globe and says, what do you think? Valparaiso and Cheadle Hulme? I'm not sure. What do you think? I don't know. It's a curious place. I want people to like Hull more than they do. Jean-Paul Sartre, of course, you all have read Hull is Other People. A lot of famous doer people come from Hull. You know, a lot of comedians, John Prescott, you know, a lot of comedians. But for me, it was a fantastic trampoline. You know, you just had to bounce out of there. And sometimes I take people back in the hope that they'll like it. And they say, if I never see that place again, it'll be too soon, they say. But for me, my father had a gentleman's outfitting shop there. It was, you know, you see where I get my sense of humour from. His advert in the local paper said, Maureen Lipman's shop is next to the docks. Drop in and see him sometime. And my mother would make me perform. She was a frustrated and actress manquée, and she would always say, oh, Maureen, tell them the joke about, and then she'd do the punchline, always. And it went something like this. You see, I would tell it, I'll miss out what she said. She'd say, tell them the joke about, you see, and I would say, well, there's the 12 with buck teeth and glasses, 12. And I would say, there's this man and he goes to Rome. Always the accent in Hull is Rome. Rome, you go down the road and you go from coast to coast. It's the only place in the world where pearls are people who come from Pearland. And my mother would say, to tell them the joke about and I would say, well, this man, he goes to Rome to become a Catholic, and he's standing in front of the altar, and he hears this voice, and the voice says, what is your name? And he says, oh, my name's Stanley Braithwaite, sir, your grace, Lord. And the voice says, where are you from? And he says, I'm from Milton Keynes, sir, your grace, Lord. And the voice says, what is your business here? And the man says, oh, I dearly wish to convert to Catholicism, sir, your grace, Lord. And the voice says, what is your occupation? And he says, oh, I'm a talent scout, sir. And the voice says, Moon River. Tell him the joke about Moon River, Maureen. Nowadays, of course, it's very difficult to tell jokes because, as you were saying before, of political correctness. All humour depends on being superior to somebody else. I wouldn't dream personally of telling an Irish joke, except one which bucks the trend, like the Irish man who goes for a job on a building site, and the foreman says to him, can you tell me the difference between a girder and a joist? And he says, of course I can. Girder wrote Faust and Joyce wrote Ulysses. And you can still tell jokes about old people, This is amazing. You can, this gig, it's like a cross between the Comedy Store and the Women's Institute. Did you? You can tell jokes about aged people because they have no rights. Anyone over my age, and so you get stories like the old couple who go to the cinema. They've been in the shop and they're locking up the shop, and the man says to the woman, put the money in the safe. And she says, why'd I put it in the safe? I never put it in the safe. She says, we're going to the pictures, we're going to eat, I just slip it in my pants. So they go out, they go to the cinema, and they go home, and when she's undressing at night, oh my God, she says, the money's gone, I can't believe it, who's got the money? He said, well, retrace your steps, what happened? She said, I don't know. She says, we went to the restaurant, didn't we? And then we went to the cinema. That's it. She said, yeah, the man sitting next to me had his hand in my knickers. And her husband said, I don't believe this. You sat all night and let a strange man put his hand in your knickers? She said, well, how did I know he was a thief? No, Rosie, you said, just come on and make them laugh, didn't you? That's what you said. The old couple who go to the doctor, and she said, and the man is in there being examined, and the doctor says, right, tell me a little about you. So, any problems? He said, the only problem I've got is that when I make love to my wife the first time, I get hot and sticky, and the second time I get very cold and shivery. Why is that? The doctor says, well, I have absolutely no idea. Could you pop outside and send your wife in? And the wife comes in. Your husband is quite a bit of a goer, isn't he, at his age? She says, what do you mean? He said, well, he tells me the first time he makes love to you, he gets hot and sticky. The second time, he gets cold and shivery. He can't think why that would be. She says, the silly sod, the first time he makes love to me, it's July. The second time, it's February, so... It's not really a lecture, this, is it? Anyway, they come back, and the doctor says, please, to the man, go and sit in the car, I want to talk to your wife. He says, Zelda, he says, I've got to tell you, you've got to change your life completely. She said, what do you mean? He said, listen, your husband, if you want him to live, you have to change your life. First thing in the morning, give him a fully cooked breakfast. And if he wants to get back into bed and make love, you must let him. 11 o'clock, give him a nice cup of freshly brewed coffee. If he wants to mess around a little, you do that. Then at lunch, you cook him 5 fruits, 5 vegetables, make sure there's a lot of protein in there. And afterwards, if he wants to have a sleep, go have a sleep. If he wants to make love, let him make love. In the evening, obviously, you cook him a fine dinner with a wonderful dessert. And an early night, if he wants to make love, you must let him. She goes back to the car, and the husband says, so what did he say? He said, you're going to die. I'm on a roll. So there's a woman and she's standing in the kitchen and her husband comes in. And she says, quick, 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 make love to me now. He said, well, what do you mean make love to me? Make love to me now. Why do I have to make love to you now? I'm boiling an egg for my breakfast and the timer's broken. I find the women get that joke. Woman who had a life and death experience in the hospital, very, very strange. Went through the tunnel, saw St. Peter at the end. Everything was completely brilliant and floral and fantastic. And he said to her, go back, go back, go back. Minnie, go back. You're not coming here for another 33 years. She wakes up in hospital. She's got another 33 years to live. She has everything done. She has everything. Rhinoplasty, blepharopsy, liposuction. She's lifted, she's tucked, everything. She looks fantastic. She has a wig and false eyelashes and her eyebrows threaded. She walks out of the hospital and she's knocked down and killed by an ambulance. She finds herself back in the white tunnel. She's looking at the face of St. Peter. How could you do this to me? She said. How could you do this? You lied. He said, what do you mean I lied? She said, you told me I had another 33 years to live. Why didn't you stop the ambulance? He said, I didn't recognize you. Now, I'm trying to write a different sort of book. I've done quite a few books and they're anecdotal and they tell the stories of how everything happens because you have a well-known face, so strange things happen to you. And so they've done fine, they've done very, but I wanted to write characters because in my business, well, you have to have slightly less of a skin. You have to have a skin missing. You have to be able to take through osmosis. You have to be able to feel what other people feel. And it can get quite pretentious to talk about it. But I just wanted a few characters that I had with me, that I could come to a place like this and I could try out my characters on you. And also that it was the kind of book that you could entertain other people with, either for auditions or around the piano at Christmas time, remember that? So I just thought I'd bring one along tonight. Yes, I looked up lecture before I came. Behold, I do not give lectures or a little charity. When I give myself. That was said by Isabella Whitney in 1573. I think it would be a very good motif for this entire wonderful gig. I'm going to try one on you and just see how you respond, because it'd be helpful to me and also help me to get the book in on time, which I haven't. This one's called Brittany's Got Talent. It's a girl of 16 in sequin shorts and a lurex bustier who addresses each judge in turn. You have to imagine I'm a girl of 16. Now we'll see if I can really act. Anyway, thank you, yes. I know I was dead nervous, but thank you. Yeah, I know I need to work on that. No, I didn't know it was that bad. I picked it because I liked it. It's one of Beyonce's, and I've loved her ever since I was born. Honest. Oh, thank you. It's just nerves. I'm all right, really. It's my sisters. They're all here. 4 of them, Clancy, Harley, Keeley and Charlize. And they've all been a tremendous support for me since our our Clancy's worked shifts to get me this outfit, and she's been stone deaf since birth. No, it's not me mobile. No, it's just me ankle chain. It's ringing because my knees are knocking. Now, Sandman tried to get me to take it off, but I wouldn't because it's me lucky anklet. It's from my mum and Uncle Trevor. I was just singing in pubs and that. It was always my dream to win a competition like this and get me mum and my sisters a nice house and that. No, she's dead now. I was 13 and a bit. Car crash. 4x4. It ran over a wheelchair, didn't it? No, I haven't got a dad.
as such, just uncles. Me and Keely have got the same dad, but he went off with a Sikh girl that worked in Superdrug. They live in Slough. I had a postcard from him when I got through the first heat. He'd seen us on telly in a bar. But what I'd really like to do is to save enough to get our Charlize into a proper school with special needs, because she gets bullied where she is, and to be able to buy our Harley a trumpet because she's dead musical, but you have to have your own instrument to get in a school. No, nothing really. I don't want anything for myself. It will be just enough for me to be able to put up a headstone on my mum's. Thank you. Thank you. I can't believe it. This means the world to me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello? Yeah, hi Tallulah, I did it. Not a dry eye in the house, darling. Sniffles on the soundtrack. I'll be back in college in another week. Will you make sure my name goes on the list for the Chekhov tryouts? Yeah, effing brilliant wheeze, darling. If this doesn't get me a frigging agent, I don't know what will. What larks. Is that it? I think probably I've had my time. I'd just like to say that of all the gigs and benefits and charities that I've done in the 5 corners of the earth, this has been the most recent, and thank you.